Okay, well, it says here that we are live on YouTube, so I am going to trust that it is. It's really disconcerting. It's on the other screen. I've got a delay of what I did about 2 minutes ago showing up on there, so that's weird. But anyway, we'll make a start and assume that everybody can hear me. I haven't done this straight to YouTube like this before because I'm using you have to use a third-party program to connect it, so we'll see if that's working out. It says there's a thing that says welcome to chat, but nobody's saying that on that, so I don't know. Hello, so welcome to the Man in the Grey Fedora, which I think is episode 5, and still looking at whether we're going to continue doing videos or probably my preferred option is it's quite fun doing videos, but I'm not sure how great it is for you guys. I think if I try and make a nice little podcast, it might be a bit nicer, put a bit of fiction in there and things like that, and a little bit of sort of background info, and that might make a nicer thing. And I'm probably better at doing audio editing and stuff because I've been doing a writing talk podcast called Writing Talk Podcast for quite a while, on and off. I need to do an episode, but it's not too bad. It's quite an easy thing to get on top of is audio editing, whereas video editing is a nightmare unless you're particularly good at it. So just a quick whiz through. I'll try not to make a mess of this. I felt last time I sort of... Oh, it says it's not working properly. Okay, marvellous. It says I'm not getting enough data. Well, I hope it's kind of recording it. Okay, maybe I'll knock it on the head in a minute because it's just got this weird error message. I don't know what that means. It says you might get buffering, but that's not much good. Okay, certainly the thing on the screen over there is 2 minutes behind. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just go through the first little bit anyway, and then we'll take it from there, and we'll see how that works out. So yeah, I was just saying that I kind of ended up rambling and rushing through a lot of these emails, and that doesn't really come across brilliantly because I do really value these emails, and I don't think that really came across. It seemed like I was being a bit dismissive. I actually really, really appreciate them. So that's the opposite really of what I'd like you to feel. So just basically give some quick shout outs and try not to ramble on too much and make a mess of it like I did last time. So hi Jeanette, thank you very much for your brilliant email because you were doing some you're in the tribe and doing the beta reading for the latest mystery, my latest book, which is called A Study in Stone. See, my mind just seems to go on the cameras on. I forget words. A Study in Stone, which is up for pre-order at the moment, and some really good feedback for me to go away and have a look at and see if I can, improve it even more. It's always good to get feedback from other people, and it just helps you to see what you need to work on still. Because when you're very close to a story and you know it inside out, you assume it's all clear, but it's only when somebody else reads it that they say, well, actually, I didn't quite get such and such. And oh, okay, yeah, that was in my head, but it has obviously not come across on the page. So that was great. Just a quick, this is quite a long one, so just a quick note to say, hi, David, so I've got your email, and I'll be sending you a proper reply on there, but thank you anyway. That's great. And yeah, Evelyn emailed me. A few people, I don't know why, but the last Awkward Squad newsletter I sent out, some people got duplicates. I know that because I have a number of test accounts, which you can quite imagine I like to test things. So, and some of them suddenly got the email twice. Most of them didn't, and some did. And I sorry if that's caused any confusion to anybody. It's some kind of weird technical glitch. I suspect something timed out during the sending, and then it thought, oh, I haven't sent it, and sent it again. So I do apologize if that happened to you. So yeah, Julie as well, thank you very much, Julie. You were also getting back to me with some feedback. You really seem to enjoy the A Study in Stone. I did have the working title Freshly Roast Mystery for a while, but I decided not to go with that in the end. So I'm really glad you sort of overall enjoyed the stories. Thank you very much. And sorry. And John, who was sending me hi John, you sent me a message relating to an email that was a little while ago. You were telling me about your experiences of being a trucker in the States, which sounds all very exciting. So thank you very much. I will, reply to all those people properly, rather than try and do it now and then make a mess of it. Just wanted to give you a shout out, say thanks for emailing. So it's always great to get emails, and I'm a bit rubbish at replying, but I am going to try and be better. So I will try and get to them. Okay, I'm assuming that it's coming out okay. It's going to be a real pain if it isn't, because what I was going to do is try doing a bit of reading, and we'll see if it's coming out okay. I'll just assume it's actually going to record it, even though it apparently can't stream it live properly. But as there's nobody watching it, I think anyway, that's okay. I'll just assume that I can download it and do stuff with it later. So what I'm going to do is, because I do like reading stuff aloud, I thought I'd do a little bit of some reading, and how many sort of steps through that book we go, I don't know, we'll see. But I thought I would read some of the Colony B, the books 1 to 4. So just sort of for the camera, this is the old cover, and there's a new cover now on the box set based on the new cover for War, but I don't have that one. So it's quite a thick book. So that's the books 1 to 4, because each one is quite short, deliberately so. They were meant to be kind of short and come out one after the other. I'm actually the serial fiction that well, some of you perhaps will know that I am sharing a work in progress on the blog, and the idea is, as this has evolved, really, this is quite a new thing, is that it will be sharing some as I'm going along, but I can't promise to do the whole thing, because that will just be unmanageable as a blog. I hope you understand that would actually be really quite tricky. It was a short story, fine, you could put that in little episodes, but as you work and you keep going backwards and forwards and changing earlier pieces, and it just gets in a mess, it's not a very nice experience, I don't think. As a reader, you're really better off having it as an ebook. But you get to see how it goes, and as far as I know, most people don't share works in progress. They're a bit cagey about their first drafts, because they're full of the ones I'm sharing. I do a quick check, they're not too full of errors and things. They're not in too shoddy a state, and again, that is an extra layer of work that might not otherwise be doing. So I just think that way you can kind of get involved in a way. You can see the story evolve. You can make comments. You can ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer those over on the blog at mikeycampling.com. I'll be really, really happy to see questions and comments that I can maybe respond to. It occurs to me that as we go on, there might be things like we might be able to get your name as a character. We might be able to suggest a name for a character. I've done that before on the Awkward Squad Facebook group, which we're not using very much at the moment. I'll leave it there anyway, but I'm not sure how much time we can spend on that when I'm spending a lot more time on the blog. I think perhaps if that becomes our place everyone can go to, not everybody uses Facebook, but everybody can go to the blog and make comments and ask questions there. So that's what I think is better. Plus, Facebook isn't my platform, it's Mr. Zuckerberg's, whereas the blog is my platform. So I'd, rather he came over to my place and chatted with me, then we went and, shoveled coal for a corporation. So, if you know what I mean, we are, rather than go and provide content for somebody else, for them to sell to their advertisers, we'll, just go to my site and we'll talk there. But it might be that I could say, okay, well, we've got some characters coming up here, who would like to suggest a name, or, something like that. So yeah, I've started a story on last Friday, and that is going to be in the Colony B world, although I haven't broadcast that yet. This is the first time I've told anybody, but it is a Colony B type book. If you go over and have a look, It's got the working title of Mutiny, and you can see that's up on the blog, because I do want to bring back some of these characters. But there's also this quite interesting other group coming along, which I think is going to add another little sort of element to it. Right, if I haven't taught myself hoarse already, have a little sip of water and I'll read you a bit. Although I'm a bit of a split personality when it comes to these things, yep, I've got some books set in England, set in the UK, which I've tended to use UK spellings and conventions for. Other ones which are sort of not so much aimed at an American audience, but say set in the States, like the cheat code books and so on, where the characters are mainly in the US, even though they come over to, in the second book, they come over to the UK. So they use US spellings and conventions. Colony B uses USA spellings and conventions, but I am not going to read the whole thing in an American accent, because although I could give it a go, I'd probably mangle it part of the way through. So I don't mind doing the characters' voices as best as I can. I have to put my reading glasses on and give you reflections, but too much rambling. So the first book in the Colony B series was called Wall. It's quite nice to read a paper version of a book, isn't it? I love reading ebooks, but it's nice to have a paper one every now and then as well. Oh, each chapter begins with the setting, because there are various settings on there. Chapter 1, The Hill. A birth, and the party that night was bigger than usual. Everyone gathered in the square as if hoping to share the glory. The women queued up to peer in at the baby, and they shared smiles and said, "Perfect." The men mostly stayed further away, huddling in groups around the bonfire and giving each other sideways looks. "Wait and see," they said, and cracked a couple of kegs of ground weed beer. Callum Davy slipped in among the drinkers, keeping an eye out for an unguarded mug. He caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of his eye, but before he could react, someone grabbed his right arm and spun him around. "Gotcha, you little bastard!" Mac leaned over Callum, his face too close. The man's florid face seemed huge, his greasy black beard matted, his straggly hair a wild and tangled mess. Mac breathed out, and Callum flinched at the stench of stale beer and rancid meat. "What are you doing here?" Mac slurred. "Think you can hang out with a man, is that it?" "Get off me, you jerk!" Callum struggled to pull his arm free from Mac's fingers, but the older man had a grip like a dirt python, and he wasn't letting go. Mac laughed, sending fresh waves of foul breath into Callum's face. "Why should I? Unless you're going to make me. Is that what you're saying?" "Just leave me alone," Callum said. "I'm 16. I'm old enough to have a beer, aren't I?" "Old enough, yes. Man enough, no." Callum stopped struggling and looked Mac in the eye. "You'd better back off before my dad—" Mac didn't let him finish. "Oh, gonna set your old man on me, the mighty cock of the roost." He lowered his voice to a growling whisper. "You know, I think I might enjoy that." "No, you wouldn't," Callum said, "but I fight my own battles." He lunged forward, forcing Mac's arm back, and turned his body to break the older man's grip. With his left hand he grabbed the knife at Mac's belt and pulled it from its sheath. Then he spun clear of Mac's reach and held the knife ready, making sure to use the reverse grip his sister had shown him, the cutting edge facing his enemy. Evade, disarm, disable. Siobhan had drilled the phrase into his mind, and now Callum narrowed his eyes, searching out his opponent's greatest weakness. Mac was a big man and strong. He relied on his size and bulk to intimidate. The beer would make him unpredictable, but it would also slow him down and make him clumsy. "I'm faster than him," Callum told himself. "I have to be smarter too." "You little bastard," Mac spluttered. He leaped forward, arms outstretched, but Callum sidestepped. and Mac's momentum carried him forward, his grasping hands closing on thin air. Before his opponent could turn, Callum kicked out low and hard, aiming for the big man's kneecap. But he mistimed it, and his boot only connected with Mac's shin. "Shit!" Callum hissed. It wasn't enough to put the man down. Mac roared and tried to spin around, but the beer must have done its work on Mac's motor neurons, and he stumbled and lost his balance, staggering backward. He crashed into a group of men, his flailing arms knocking the mugs from their hands. Then he fell, landing flat on his back at the men's feet. "For Christ's sake, Mac, you asshole!" One of the men aimed a kick at Mac's side. Another turned to glare, looking for someone to blame. Callum dropped his hand to his side, letting the knife slip silently to the ground. "Don't blame me," he said. "Stupid jerk can't hold his beer." The man nodded, then looked back at Mac, watching him struggle to his knees. Callum took his chance and darted away from the fire and into the darkness at the edge of the settlement. He spotted a familiar outcrop of rock and pressed himself against it, leaning his back against the cold stone. No one would bother him out here. He was safe. He looked back toward the fire and smiled. Mac had found a new way to occupy his time. The men he'd barged into did not like his attitude. They formed a circle around him, and the more Mac yelled and tried to push them away, the more they jeered and pushed back. "There he goes," Callum thought, "turning on the charm." "Stupid bastard," he whispered. "Yeah, he is." Callum tensed, ready to push away from the rock. He should have kept hold of Mac's knife. A dark shape moved toward him. A man. No, a group. There were 4 or 5 of them. Someone snickered and said, "Sorry, did we make you jump?" Callum swallowed. What now? But then a voice he recognised. Leave him alone." Callum breathed a sigh of relief. "Siobhan, what are you doing out here?" He watched his sister separate from the group and walk toward him. "We were here first," Siobhan said, and she was close enough for Callum to make out her smile. "We?" He peered over Siobhan's shoulder, but her companion stayed in the shadows. "Just me and a few friends," Siobhan said. "You know, just chilling out, getting out of the settlement for a while." Callum shrugged. "Yeah, me too." "Really? So you being out here has got nothing to do with dropping that old bastard McIntyre to his knees, then?" Callum winced. Busted. He should have known better than to try and put one over on Siobhan. "It wasn't my fault. He started it. He just picked on me for no reason." "And you weren't creeping around trying to sneak a mug of beer from under his nose?" Callum's mouth hung open. "Not very smart, kiddo," Siobhan said. "You know what Dad told you about that beer? It'll rot your brain and you'll wind up like Mac." "Listen, Shiv, you won't tell Dad, will you?" Siobhan pursed her lips. "I might not mention it. Depends on how good you are at forgetting." "Forgetting what?" Siobhan flashed him a wicked grin. "Me and my friends are just taking a little walk, but maybe later, if anyone asks whether you saw anyone out here, you might not remember. Understand?" Callum nodded vigorously. "Okay, no problem. I never saw you." He returned his sister's smile. It was a fair deal. If his dad knew about the fight, there'd be a punishment for Callum, no matter what the rights and wrongs of it. But if he knew Siobhan was out on the hillside and heading away from the settlement after dark, his dad would be furious, even though at 18 Siobhan was old enough to do as she pleased. "That's settled then," Siobhan said. "You go back now and stay out of trouble. I'll see you later." She patted Callum on the shoulder, then turned and walked back to her friends. Callum heard some anxious muttering, then Siobhan said, "It's all right, he's cool, don't worry about it." Callum raised his arm and waved, but the group disappeared into the shadows. "They could have taken me with them," he thought. "They could have let me hang around with them." Callum sniffed. He was only a year and a bit younger than Siobhan anyway. Maybe it would be different when he hit his 17th birthday. Maybe not. He started back toward the bonfire. There was no sign of Mac, and the party atmosphere had returned. Callum loitered on the edge of the firelight, listening to the rhythm of chatter and laughter. He skirted around the groups of men and mingled with the women and children. The high-pitched squeals and laughter of the children rang out in the still night air, and a few people had spread sheets of tarp on the ground and were sharing food. A young woman was playing guitar, her audience clapping along and joining in with the singing. Callum smiled to himself. This was his world, his life. And all this fuss and excitement was to welcome the newest member of their community, to celebrate the start of a new life that would be lived out here on the hill. It was a small world, but that was how it had to be. After all, where else was there to go? I might have to stop there because that feels like quite a long kind of bit of reading. Hope you enjoyed that first little bit of Wall, which is the first book in the Colony Bee series, which doesn't have that cover, but I'm showing anyway. Wall has like an astronaut kneeling down on it now, and so does the box set. Okay, I hope you like that. I will, as I say, try and see what we're doing with this. Maybe we'll turn it into a podcast, and then it'll be a bit easier to concentrate on the quality of the readings and the quality of the sound. I'll probably, I suppose I could do it on YouTube at the same time, but it's a bit kind of distracting. Or possibly the Facebook Live video. See how it works. The Facebook Live video in my rural location, I guess the broadband upload speed isn't great, and so it went all blocky and funny. I was trying the YouTube and it says it's buffering, so I don't know. I'll see how it goes later. But anyway, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching and or listening, and comments, requests, questions, anything like that, always welcome. If you'd like to know anything about the writing or about how I go about it, always happy to answer that as well. No question is too silly. It's quite happy to have a go if there's any questions. If you want to know what all this junk is behind me, you can ask about that. Accumulation of a lifetime accumulation of rubbish. Okay, so thank you very much and take care. Happy reading, and I will talk to you again soon. Goodbye.